Hello, guys. Jeremy here. I was. This will be the third installment of my experience in the military. And one thing I left out in the first one, or the second one, I don't remember when I shipped out. When I first was in reception, it was like I said, I was in there for a month and a half, and I got really freaking homesick, and I wanted to go home up until about the second week of basic training. And fortunately, I had a girlfriend at the time who had whose father was a veteran, and he was able to really motivate and help me get through it. Both of them were, and I appreciate that. But anyways, where I left off, we was at finishing off AIT, and when I finished AIT, we went on block leave from the and then when I first 10 days, I was on home doing what they call hometown recruiting, which is basically I was just cold calling high school kids to see if they were interested in joining the military, seeing if I can get an appointment for them. I ended up getting, I think, about 4 or 5 appointments, but none of them actually showed up. But anyways, and then fast forward and go on have our little Christmas leave, and then after January, right after New Year's, I ended up getting shipped out to Hawaii for my first duty station, and that was a blast. I mean, it was a lot of island. I My first year, I was pretty. The first few months, I pretty much behaved myself. I didn't drink or anything like that. I didn't do anything. I was 19, didn't drink or anything like that. And I eventually, I guess you might say, got in with the wrong crowd and started drinking a little bit more and more and more. and then and then later, and it's just that, and but we had a lot of fun with beaches and going to the beach and sometimes going to the clubs. I wasn't 21 yet, so most of the clubs I couldn't even get into. But I could get into like World Cafe. I don't think that exists anymore. I think they shut down before I left. I was able to get in places like that. We had a place at Schofield called the Sports Dome. We used to go there a lot. Couldn't drink there, but I could hang out. And and then I think my first deployment was Cobra Gold 1999. I was in Thailand, and this is where I got my first taste of how Asian women are, and that was a very interesting experience because over there, the women, especially if you're from the West, the women will treat you like kings. I'm not saying women here won't do that, but I'm just saying that was like one of the first things I noticed is they were all about servitude. I will say, I'm not saying that I'm for or against it, but they were just all about servitude. I was there for about 3 weeks and went home and got back and continued partying, and it was mostly my first. But a lot of the I think one of the things I had a problem with was they used to complain that I was moving too slow because I was a cook, and I'm gonna tell you something about being a cook in the military. It is the kitchen moves very fast, so you have to have a lot of pep in your step when it comes to getting things put out, getting meals put out, because you only have a couple hours. You only have a couple hours to put the meal out, and you're feeding 200 to 300 people around. I mean, I've been in dining facilities that fed more later on when I was, but we'll talk about that more later. And then then after that one, I ended up going over to the Big Island was PTA. I don't know Bahakaloa training area, Somebody in the comments correct me on that if I'm wrong. I don't remember how to pronounce it, but we called it PTA. It was up in the mountains, and it was cold and dusty, and it was just a whole. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, it was a nightmare. Spent the majority of the time in the field. Did a couple morale runs once in a while, so we could go get some snacks and cigarettes from the main post. But for the most part, we stayed in the what do you call it, in the field until it was time to come back. And Italian commander was pissed at us towards the end because there was really no communication as to what was going on, when the exercise was going to end, and it was just it was a whole big mess. But I remember coming home, and remember the chick I like ended up getting with my friend, and eventually she ended up pregnant and marrying the guy, which that was pretty much the story of my life a lot of the times. That was one of those things. I don't hold any grudge against him. I mean, I wish her the best. I wish him the best. I don't think they're married anymore, but it is what it is. But there's a lot of but it was a lot of fun there. I mean, there was like we pretty much, you name it, they had it. They had nice beaches, beautiful women. The climate pretty much stayed the same all year round. The only difference really was in November, December, January time frame, where it rained a lot, and there was hardly ever any thunderstorms in Hawaii. And that was interesting because the first time I saw a thunderstorm in Hawaii was in November. I had already been there almost a year, November of '99, and so we just kept going up there, and eventually ended up going to. From there, I ended up getting sent to what they call JRTC out in Fort Polk, Louisiana, with another unit, which never forget the guy. He was very good sergeant, but very tough. But the man, I mean, if you needed something to be made happen, he'd be the one. And you needed something you needed to happen, he would be the one to help you make it happen. That's what they used to say in the NCO Academy. It says NCOs make it happen. The officers make the rules, but the NCOs enforce and execute. But yeah, there was that. That was a lot of fun, and then eventually the woman I was dating when I first joined the army, I think we broke up and got back together for the upteen time or whatever, and not going to get too much into that, but she did like that I was in Hawaii and she was in New York, and so it didn't work out, and it is what it is. And then I think it was around 2000. That was about 2000, and then and I'm gonna give you a little bit more later, but that was in 2000, and that was when my drinking spiral started going downhill, and that was where I was starting to get a lot of trouble. I'd had into a huge fight with my brother, and we didn't talk for like 6 months, and which kind of hurt me because I was very close to my brother. But I ended up seeing him again, and that was where I actually ended up cleaning up in June of 2001, and been sober ever since. But there was a lot of I will say there was a lot of by that time there was a lot of, because I had just re-enlisted to stay in Hawaii. I got my consecutive overseas tour request approved, so I was there until 2003. But when I when okay, in the next video we're going to talk more about. It's been over 10 minutes. When I next video I'm going to talk more about Hawaii and what ended up transpiring after that. If you like this video, make sure you hit the subscribe, hit a like, leave a comment, at least with a thumbs up, helping with the algorithms, and stay safe out there. Have a good one.